I got to tell you, I didn't see a 70-point day being on my NFL bingo card this season. In fact, I had no reason to because it hadn't happened since 1966. Kyle, do you have any questions left about this Miami Dolphins offense being legit? Because playmakers across the field is what I saw today against the Broncos.
Offense, no question. The team itself, better than last year. That's my conclusion. Because you might remember this week, last year was that game where it was like 100 degrees in Miami and the Bills were playing the Dolphins. And they had like this awesome game where at the end, Stephon Diggs got cramps. So he was out on the last play. And the Bills had the game-winning touchdown, but Josh Allen threw it short of the receiver. And then Ken Dorsey was like throwing stuff. And then that hand like covered the camera that was showing Ken Dorsey. After that game, even I felt, well, Buffalo is clearly still a better team than the Miami Dolphins, right? Like the Dolphins may have won this game. They may be 3-0. They may be scoring a whole bunch of points, but obviously the Dolphins are not as good as this Buffalo Bills team. And walking away from the Dolphins thus far in the season, I mean, 70-point game, you can put that in perspective. You could put in perspective the game they played against the Chargers where Tua had 450 passing yards. Like my takeaway is that the Miami Dolphins are legitimately one of the 4 best teams in the NFL. The defense is still like at a league average level, but as long as it's not terrible like last year, I think as the Dolphins have one of the 2 best offenses in the NFL, maybe 3, depending on how you feel about the 49ers. But I mean, the Miami Dolphins are incredible at this point. There's no doubt that they have one of the best offenses in the NFL and might be one of the 4 best teams in the NFL.
How impressed are you knowing that they did this today without Jalen Waddle?
It makes it even more impressive. And look, there's so many impressive things about the Dolphins. Coming into this game, Tua Tagovailoa had the fewest seconds snap to throw in the entire NFL through 2 weeks. It was 2.3 seconds snap to throw, which is really good when you have a shaky offensive line and a quarterback who has a history of injury problems, specifically head injury problems. It's great that he's getting the ball out quickly before he can get hit. Despite the fact that he has the fastest snap to throw time, the Dolphins offense also has the furthest yards traveled in the air by passes. 10.2 was coming into this week. So they had the quickest snap to release and the furthest yards per pass attempt as a team, which is crazy. It just is a testament to how much speed they have. And like you said, even without Jalen Waddle playing today, it was just speed all across the field. They've incorporated shifts and motion into their offense. So Tyreek Hill gets a running head start coming out of the backfield when they move him from outside into the slot. And the touchdown that he had, like the safety made the right play for the Broncos. Tyreek Hill just burned him down the field because you gave the fastest receiver in the NFL a 30-yard head start on the safety. The safety took the right angle. Tyreek Hill just burned him. Like, yeah, to do all this without Jalen Waddle and to have a Kane, I keep mispronouncing his name. I keep wanting to call him Acne, but a Kane who
A-Chain,
had...
I think it's A-Chain. That's the pronunciation I heard most often on the broadcast.
Devon A-Chain, the backup running back who had 4 touchdowns and 230 yards. The starting running back, Raheem Mostert, who had 4 touchdowns himself. Like, yeah, there's just speed all across the field. They have fixed the running game. They have speed that makes it so that even if Jalen Waddle doesn't play, they can put up 70 points in a game.
Well, you'll remember like a couple years back, we were having this argument over the Miami Dolphin running game and how effective it could be. And a big problem for them was obviously Raheem Mostert's health. He just hasn't been healthy. You go back to like 2019 with the 49ers, him going off in the NFC Championship game. I felt like that was his last like healthy moment in the NFL because 2020 was just a mess for him. 2021 even more so. And last year, like I know he was on and off the field as well. Same goes for Jeff Wilson Jr., who's still currently on IR for the team. I know they had Selvin Ahmed, who was not in that game. So you had to turn to H.A. like, again, a rookie. And he sets, I want to say he set the all-time rookie running back yardage mark for a single game, which is just ridiculous. And if you had any of these guys in fantasy too, let's face it, A-Chain, Mostert, 4 touchdowns apiece. It just mind-boggling numbers. I got to ask you, so like Mike McDaniel, we talked about Mike McDaniel being the backup option a couple years ago. That has to be one of the best mishaps that ever went in the team's favor, because when I look at what this guy has brought to this team schematically, it's obvious. It just jumps off the field. It jumps off the tape, as they say. I mean, 726 yards, and they could have had the record. They could have had the record. I can't say that enough. At the record 72, they had 70 today. They could have had the 73 points there. at 726 yards too. They could add that all-time record, but they chose not to. So the aggressiveness from McDaniel stood out, but he did tone it down towards the end there. How impressed are you that he's so aggressive? Because they were up 35-13 at one point in this game, and they said, we're still going to run it on 4th down for a touchdown. We're still going to pass the ball. They were still doing that stuff late in the game. What do you think of that?
To your original point about Mike McDaniel, remember, he was their plan D option when all of this was going on. Because remember, the Miami Dolphins tried to concoct a plan where Sean Payton would come out of retirement to have part owner Tom Brady come out of the ownership box to play quarterback.
Hold up. I got to jump in. I just got to say, do you think that had anything to do with today?
Not particular. However, the cosmic karma is just chef's kiss beautiful. To go from that, again, this is not speculation. This is confirmed to be true. They were going to have Sean Payton coach the Dolphins with part owner Tom Brady coming out of the ownership box to be the quarterback. And when that fell apart, they pivoted to Jim Harbaugh. And when that fell apart, they wanted Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll declined to interview for the job because he had already been offered the Giants job. So McDaniel was their plan D, and he has been the best coaching hire of the last 3 to 4 years in the NFL, I want to say. What I'm most impressed with by McDaniel, and this is the sign of a coach that I think will last 9, 10, 12 years in the NFL, they have pivoted over and over again. They weren't getting the ball out that quickly last year with Tua. It wasn't 2.5 seconds snap to throw like it was last year. That's a change in the offense. They're running similar motions in the offense with the receivers, but you're seeing it more frequently, and he has the personnel that he wants now. Like Gesicki was a Pro Bowler before McDaniel got there, and he didn't have a place in the offense. Why? Because Gesicki's too slow. We can't have him running around in that. And Gesicki went from a Pro Bowler who they franchise tagged to just totally irrelevant within the span of that offense. And to the part you were talking about earlier, remember at the start of last season when you and I were going back and forth about the Dolphins running game, and you said this is a running game that can be top half to top 10 in the NFL. And I said a running back room of Myles Gaskin, Chase Edmonds, and Salvin Ahmed is not going to be very good.
Raheem was there. No, he just wasn't healthy.
Not at the time, because remember, they stunk it up and then immediately cleared out everyone in the running back room. Then they got Mostert. Then Jeff Wilson came in. They obviously drafted A-Chain, and it worked without improving the offensive line significantly. I mean, they made a couple tinkers here and there. Like
they made a new standard. Basically, if you don't run a 4-3, you can't be in this offense.
Yes, exactly. And completely moved on from the running backs, traded Chase Edmonds I think he's in Tampa now, but like they traded Chase Edmonds. They got rid of Gaskin. I know Ahmed is still around, but he's like the 4th running back on the team who's a practice squad guy at this point. Like totally rebuilt the running back room, and now it's fixed. Like even before the 376 rushing yards today, which is just a ridiculous sentence to say, 376 rushing yards, and 8 touchdowns, even before that, they had fixed the running back situation. And that's the thing that has taken this offense from very, very good to over the top, one of the 3 best offenses in the NFL.
Tua is starting to get some MVP hype, and it's well-deserved. You just look at the numbers. It's well-deserved for him to be in that MVP conversation right now. Today, he literally had more passing touchdowns than he had incompletions. I think the number was 23 for 26, 309 yards, 4 touchdowns. He had that sick shovel pass too in the middle. That's something we only see Patrick Mahomes do. And Tua's doing it now.
No look left-handed shuffle pass.
Yeah, he has so much confidence in this offense, which I think, again, that's another notch on the belt for McDaniel. When we go back to McDaniel getting hired in Miami and what that meant for this team, remember that phone conversation, him picking up the phone? We thought, oh, this is just a cute little Miami Dolphins promo, him hyping up Tua. But that's real. You look how they interact on the sideline, and they actually got a little bit of a bromance going. And I think that that's exactly what you need for a young quarterback in the NFL. And if I'm a GM, front office, ownership, whatever, moving forward, it's just going to be hard for me to make a case for a defensive-minded head coach if I have a young quarterback. I need to have a guy like McDaniel. I know everyone wanted their McVay. Everyone wants their McDaniel, wanted their Kyle Shanahan. But it's so important, particularly if you do have a young, developing starting quarterback, because the beautiful part about having that offensive mind you're in your building at your head coach position, they don't leave every yearly. They don't leave. Like if McDaniel had an offensive coordinator calling all his plays for him, that guy's going to leave. Like after this year, after a 70-point day, I'm sure that his phone will be going off the hook, right? He couldn't put his phone down for head coaching offers. But since McDaniel is the head coach, Miami doesn't have to worry about that. And you go back to like the Brian Flores decision too. And I know that that's also a messy situation, but they made the right call. End of the day, they made the right call. And look where they are now. The results are speaking for themselves.
So that part's an interesting element to it, is everything that had to go into this, because the Miami Dolphins fell ass backwards into this. We talked about McDaniel being the plan D situation before, but the reason we were talking about 2 years ago going Tom Brady instead of Tua, going for insert Derek Carr instead of Tua, like the whole reason that conversation was happening is because we didn't believe the Dolphins were going to put Tua in a position to succeed. And this is where developmental projects actually bear results, right? Like everyone talked about Jalen Hurts being the crazy revelation last season. And now I think Jalen Hurts is like the first quarterback since like the 1960s to be 17-1 in an 18-game stretch or something like that. But like, this is what developmental projects look like. It is having a vision for what this offense is going to look like, having a quarterback with a very specific skill set to tailor that offense, and then having success from it. As much as I want to crap on Sean Payton, like Sean Payton built a Hall of Fame career this way. He picked a quarterback who perfectly fit the offense he wanted to run in New Orleans, and that was Drew Brees, a very talented quarterback, but one that the Chargers had decided they were ready to move on from. And in a similar type of case, not exactly the same path, but like Tua was old news by his third season, right? Like Tua going into last year was, well, we know he'll never be Justin Herbert, right? That was the thing that I had said. I don't know what Tua is, but I know he'll never be Justin Herbert. And as the results bear themselves out, they've put a situation around him where he can flourish and blossom. And regardless of how good or bad you think Tua is, like let's acknowledge the Dolphins haven't offered him any contract extension yet. But besides that point, like this is what developmental projects look like. It is a vision from a coaching staff on down, and enacting that vision in a way that you are able to execute with the talent that you have on their team. And also the gift of acquiring Tyreek Hill makes this whole machine work, of course.
So let me ask you, is this ultimately a lesson on why NFL front offices should retain their ball boys? over the course of 20 years, that really would have panned out greatly for the Broncos had they just kept McDaniel in their building, just kept promoting him up the chain, I guess.
Washington now has a coaching staff that one time had Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur, Mike McDaniel, Robert Saleh. All of these people were on the same coaching staff. I think I'm forgetting. Did I McVay,
you
Shanahan,
LaFleur, right?
Oh, I forgot Shanahan, McVay, Shanahan, LaFleur, McDaniel, Robert Saleh, all on the same coaching staff. That's 5 NFL head coaches, 4 of whom have pretty good job security right now.
Are you sure Kevin O'Connell wasn't doing something? I know he was under McVay's tree.
I don't think Kevin O'Connell was ever with him in Washington, but still, same point, right? Like McConnell comes from that same tree. Zach Taylor comes from the McVay coaching situation. Like all of this is a byproduct of the changing NFL, and really what Andy Reid laid the foundation for in terms of like incorporating spread offense into the NFL, which then blossoms into the zone running scheme combined with spread. But like a lot of this stems from those young people all getting together. And obviously Mike McDaniel was the ball boy on Mike Shanahan's Denver Broncos. So
exactly.
There's the connection there.
Can we pull it all the way back to the beginning? You got to give it to Bill Walsh, because if you go Andy Reid through Holmgren through Bill Walsh, and then of course you look right, Mike Shanahan and everything that's blossomed from his tree, that of course also ties back to Bill Walsh. So that West Coast scheme, it just has great longevity. And it shows that if you just put the right pieces in it, I mean, you don't have to do anything fancy. You mentioned downfield passing was still one of the big question marks. When you have guys running 4.3s all across the field and you could just hit them in space, they're going to do some special things. And that's exactly what the Miami Dolphins offense is. You mentioned again, Tua, he still doesn't have a contract yet. Well, the Dolphins may come to regret that if he keeps playing like this, because the price is only going to keep going up.
This is how impressive the Dolphins are at this point. And again, the thing I will acknowledge, they are either the second or third best team in the AFC. That's the thing that I feel certain. It's either them or Buffalo, because like Buffalo is still very quietly very, very talented. And
they play this week.
And they play this week. And while Miami was doing all this, Buffalo did like win 37-3 against Washington, and the 3 came in garbage time. So like Buffalo, Kansas City, and Miami all had ridiculous dominating weeks. And then throw San Francisco in there. Those are the 4 best teams in the NFL right now. But besides
Sorry,
that point,
Dallas.
like, yeah, no, sorry, Dallas. Dallas is right in that group, and
I mean,
Philly's in
they
that group
are,
too.
but you lose to the Cardinals, you take a few knocks in the power rankings.
There's 4 there's 4 that I feel like are really, really good. And Miami being in that group, here's what's so impressive. I did not believe that you could build an elite NFL offense. I know people throw elite around a lot. A legitimate top 3 to 5 NFL offense. I did not believe you could build that around a wide receiver. I just didn't think it was possible in the modern NFL because everyone says quarterbacks are the most valuable positions worth $40 million. Edge rushers are the most valuable positions worth $30 million. I did not think that wide receiver was in that class until I've seen what the Dolphins have done, because this whole thing is built around Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill has a 4-year, $120 million contract with the Dolphins, and he's underpaid. $30 million a year. He is underpaid by the Miami Dolphins for what that offense builds around. Like when people talk about like what top end quarterback money is, Tyreek Hill is that valuable. Like he is one of the 10 most valuable players in the NFL. And I did not think that was possible 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I didn't think that a top 3 to 5 offense in the NFL could be built around a wide receiver. That's how impressive the last 2 years have been for the Miami Dolphins. They have re-engineered the way I think about football.
They took out the starters and still kept putting on points. Mike White had a touchdown in this one. Miami Dolphins, impressive showing against the Denver Broncos, a historic showing against the Denver Broncos, still set a franchise record for a singles game mark. What do you think of the game? What do you think of everyone's performance? Tua for MVP, is that a real thing? Like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on all our socials. From Juju and Kyle, stay safe, happy, and healthy. We'll see you next time.